I level up alone. Solo Leveling Season 1. Part 1. Summary of Loki Review. Please surprise us to follow Season 2 and 3. Thanks so much. 3 years ago, there was a war between a fleet of ships and monsters on that island. However, their attack was completely useless, as the weapons could not inflict damage on them. Now, they could only rely on hunters. A large number of hunters were present to confront the giant ants that rushed out from the forest. Their entire army attacked with both physical and magical attacks, but it was all in vain. Eventually, the humans were almost entirely devoured by the swarm of ants. Just then, a seemingly strong hunter struck down one ant and used healing magic to treat all the wounds of those it had attacked. The entire swarm of monsters jumped at him from behind, but his teammates arrived to save him. They easily knocked away each ant one by one because this was a group of S-rank hunters. A larger ant appeared, seemingly the leader, and the group of hunters split up. One went to heal the severely injured, while the others combined their attacks. The orange-haired guy rushed in to hold the ant down while the guy with the scarf jumped down from the sky. He shot lightning bolts from his claws at it, allowing the other to break off its pincers and finish it off with a throw that pierced through the ant's body. However, it seemed that it was not the leader, as a whole new swarm appeared right after that. The orange-haired guy strained himself to enhance his strength to the point where half of his hair turned white, while the other shot down supportive lightning bolts from his claws. Inside the island, there was another large group of hunters also facing a swarm of ants, just as numerous. Among them was an S-rank hunter who waved his hand and shot a fire blast that incinerated the small ants, while the remaining ones engaged in close combat. Rewinding time over 10 years, a passage connecting to another dimension suddenly opened. Inside the gate existed countless bizarre monsters, and those who awakened their fighting abilities were called hunters. Hunters were divided into ranks based on the magical power within their bodies. The strength of those who had awakened would be fixed, so no matter how hard they tried, their abilities would never develop. Returning to the present time in Seoul, South Korea. These individuals were all low-rank hunters, gathering at the construction site preparing to raid. Currently, the job of a hunter, if successful, could earn a lot of money. So many people chose this profession. The boy with many wounds on his body was Sung Jin-Woo, who was greeted by many upon arrival. But not because he was strong. His nickname was the weakest warrior of mankind. So weak that even entering the E-rank gate left him injured and hospitalized. Therefore, if he was present, it was certain that today's raid would be at the lowest rank. Seeing Sung Jin-Woo injured again, the girl named Joo-hee was very worried. Thus, it was an E-rank dungeon, while those entering together were all of higher ranks, so they originally did not call for him. Treatment. Until the consequence was that he was injured to the point of being hospitalized, but Sung Jin-Woo did not blame them because after all, it was just because he was too weak. It was time to break into the dungeon, and the man named Song Chi-jin would take on the role of leader for this trip. The main character also had a good relationship with the uncle leader. As soon as everything was prepared, everyone stepped into the dungeon. With Sung Jin-Woo's income, he could only afford a knife with a little bit of magic. The job of those hunters was to sell the resources collected from the dungeon for money. Jin-Woo had just killed a goblin and obtained a magic stone from it, but in a moment of carelessness, he was attacked by another one that jumped in and slashed at him. After dodging, Jin-Woo rushed at the opponent and stabbed with his chipped knife. But just at that moment, it broke into pieces. As a result, he received a stab from the goblin in the stomach. And another uncle had to rush to save the boy who was lying on the floor covered in blood. Although Hugh quickly came to treat his wounds, the pain gradually subsided. Sung Jin-Woo could only lie there watching the other hunters compete to kill monsters. The magic stones that fell from high-level monsters could also be transformed into powerful weapons and armor. The mana or mind from the dungeon could also be used similarly, but it was less effective than the magic stones. However, the purpose that the government desired was to use them as a new energy source, safer than nuclear power, more efficient than hydroelectric power, and not causing air pollution like thermal power. The government was promoting methods of generating electricity from mana or and magic stones. These rare resources could only be collected by hunters, and the Hunters Guild had just united to take down the insect in this dungeon. Hugh reminded Sung Jin-Woo that if it continued like this, a big incident would happen one day when he was always injured. She did not want to hear apologies, but was genuinely worried about him. Everyone had harvested all the loot from the monsters. There was not much mana or here, so the harvest was not very rewarding. In the end, Sung Jin-Woo only earned a single E-rank magic stone. Suddenly, someone discovered a hidden cave leading to a very deep passage. Could this be a 2-level dungeon? The leader announced to everyone that when unexpected situations like this occur, we must seek guidance from the Hunters Association. However, many people thought that if they passed it up, it would be like leaving the good parts for those who come later. After all, it was just a D-rank dungeon, not very dangerous. The leader decided to hold a vote. The number of people wanting to continue and those not wanting to continue was about equal. With Du-hai choosing to stop, only Sung Jin-Woo would finalize the result. The main character knew very well that a D-rank dungeon was too dangerous for him. But after his father passed away, he was the only one left in the house capable of working. Sung Jin-Woo really needs money. Sung Jin-Ji really needs money to take care of his mother's hospital fees and also his sister's tuition fees as she is about to take the university entrance exam. Therefore, his decision is to go. The scene shifts to the Hunter Association. Newly awakened hunters will sit and wait to be evaluated to see what rank they belong to. Just by touching a black crystal, their rank will be displayed. Immediately after, the hunting associations waiting outside will rush to recruit promising individuals for their companies. On the streets, a bag snatching incident just occurred. Two robbers thought they had escaped when suddenly a girl stood in their way right in the middle of the road. In the blink of an eye, she soared up to retrieve the bag from one of them and returned it to the victim, causing both robbers to tumble onto the street. The girl with beautiful golden hair and an incredibly cool demeanor is the S-rank hunter, Chahin. Seeing their idol in the flesh, everyone lingered to ask for a photo. But Chahin jumped up a lamppost and continued to leap away. Back with this group, 40 minutes have passed since they entered the cave. The gate will be sealed 1 hour after defeating the boss, so there are still 20 minutes left. Sung Jin-Woo apologizes to Ju-hee just because he agreed to go deeper into the cave, but she does not mind, saying that, "Do you really believe it? It's annoying. He barely recovered, and now he's being reckless. He's really thick-headed. Thanks to someone with rank healing like Ju-hee, he has survived until now." She punishes Sung Jin-Woo by saying that next time he has to treat her to something that will surprise her. They have reached the boss room, which even has a strange door, further revealing the danger. But since they have already come this far, everyone decides to go in. At the Hunter Association, this man is Go Gun-hee, the president of the association. He is speaking a few words with the newly awakened hunters. Some may become hunters, but others may choose a different path. It has been over 10 years since the first gate appeared, but there are still many mysteries. Being a hunter is a profession that puts one's life at stake, so one must never be careless. When Sung Jin-Woo's group entered the room, suddenly the lights flared up. Surrounding them were countless giant stone statues that looked very old. What captivated the main character was the largest statue here, sitting majestically on a throne with a crown on its head. There were no monsters, but it brought a terrifying sense of unease. At the foot of the statue was a magic circle. On one statue, resembling the god of death, there was an ancient inscription about the rules of the temple. Rule 1, respect the god. Rule 2, praise the god. And Rule 3, believe in the god. Ju-hee suddenly became frightened and grabbed Sung Jin-Ji's sleeve because she just noticed that the eye of the large statue was moving. Observing them, he thought she was just mistaken when suddenly the door slammed shut, locking the dungeon tightly. Everyone began to panic. One person who had never agreed with the idea of coming in here was furious and intended to leave, ignoring the others, searching for treasure. Unexpectedly, the statue at the gate automatically moved, swinging a weapon that decapitated the man. Right after that, the statue returned to its majestic state, just like at the beginning, and everyone, terrified, turned pale and screamed. Sung Jin-Woo couldn't believe his eyes when a low-ranking hunter died unexpectedly after just one blow. How on earth did such monsters appear in a low-ranking gate? Now he recalled what Ju-hee had said earlier and turned to look fearfully at the largest statue. Indeed, it glanced this way. Sung Jin-Woo had stood on the brink of death countless times before. Sometimes he lost track of everyone. Other times he was trapped in a maze and nearly starved to death. Hunters would use the money earned from magic stones to buy equipment. The stronger the monster, the more rewards it dropped. However, he only had a cheap knife and a pair of tattered shoes, risking his life day by day. Perhaps because he always carefully observed his surroundings to survive, he could sense when danger was approaching. So he managed to warn everyone to lie down. Indeed, from the statue's eyes shot out two terrifying attacks like meteors. They scorched a long trail on the ground, and one person was burned to ashes. Fortunately, Sung Jin-Woo managed to grab Ju-hee and roll down to the ground. However, she had fallen into a state of extreme panic. No one knew why this horrifying event was happening. Trapped and unable to escape. This was the moment the main character realized he would be killed. Part 2. Witnessing the horrific deaths of two people in the group sent everyone into a panic. Leader Song Chi-jan did not allow anyone to move, as that would provoke another attack. Fortunately, thanks to Sung Jin-Ji's awareness, if not, everyone would have been wiped out. But he didn't realize much. He just sensed the danger. Suddenly, he noticed that one of the leader's arms had been burned. Currently, Ju-hye's spirit was very weak, so Sung Jin-Woo had to bandage his wounds for him. Because of her weak spirit, a rank hunter like her only participated in simple raids. About 2 to 3 times already. Although she wanted to think positively, she couldn't deny that this monster had to be according to the rules of the temple engraved on the stone tablet. Those who do not follow the rules cannot survive. The deity inscribed on it must be this statue. Sometimes what awaits behind the gates can contain supreme monsters. Surpassing horror and nearing despair, Sung Jin-Woo's sister, Jin, was being asked by her classmate about her brother. Jin said he was just an errant hunter who always returned, covered in injuries. Her classmate was interested because she also dreamed of becoming a hunter and believed she could do better. The leader Song Chi-jan was trying to calmly find a way to escape instead of confronting it. But one person thought that it was very difficult to sign a contract with a large association, so there was no way to die here. He was very fast and believed he would kill it before it could kill him. Unexpectedly, just as he moved a little, his whole body was immediately blown to dust with just a flash from the statue's eyes. It had enough power to easily kill everyone, but did not do so, unlike the weak monsters that only knew how to charge straight in. Sung Jin-Woo immediately asked what the first rule on the stone tablet was, and the leader replied that one must respect the deity. He realized that this dungeon had its own rules, so he boldly stood up. After sweating profusely to stand up, the statue flashed a beam of light in its eyes again. He quickly bowed his head down, and indeed the light was extinguished, and nothing happened. Understanding the issue, Sung Jin-Woo shouted for everyone to bow to the statue because it would not attack if our heads were in a low position. In accordance with the rule of respecting the deity, everyone followed suit, and the statue's gaze became soulless-like at the beginning, but in return, its mouth formed a grotesque and terrifying smile. Instead of making any movement, another person boldly stood up and moved but was not attacked at all. Everyone also stood up and breathed a sigh of relief, finally able to survive and return. However, the male lead knew it was not over yet. Indeed, the statue suddenly stood up from its throne and took steps toward this side. Everyone also stood up and breathed a sigh of relief, finally able to survive and return. However, the male lead knew it was not over yet. Indeed, the statue suddenly stood up from its throne and took steps toward the statue once again bared its terrifying teeth and crushed the guy underfoot. The color spilled out, causing everyone to fear and flee. Those who were so frightened that they could not move would die incompletely before its feet. Sung Jin-Woo had to grab Dewey's hand to pull him away. This guy did not want to die here, because today was the first day back to the hunting profession, to earn money to take care of his pregnant wife at home. He thought that just staying away from that large statue was safe enough, but it was not. A soldier's statue behind him slashed down, cutting the person in half. The male lead was still trying to think of what to say to praise that demon disguised as a deity. Another person lost an arm and flew half a body. Sung Jin-Woo observed the surrounding statues and saw that they were all spears, kites, hammers, swords, and musical instruments. He immediately shouted for everyone to run to the statues holding musical instruments. Everyone reluctantly followed one by one to get closer, and those statues suddenly played music and did not attack at all. Sung Jin-Woo and Ju-yi stood in front of one, but it refused to play, meaning that two people standing together at one statue was not allowed, so he ran to another place to leave her there. It agreed to play, and Ju-yi was safe. Having found the nearest statue holding musical instruments, Jin-Woo tried to run as fast as possible toward it, but the statue caught up and stopped. Luckily, he jumped away, dodging it in time, but jumped wrong and ended up where the muso without an instrument was, and so got his shield slammed straight into him. Ju-yi burst into tears, screaming Jin-Woo's name, but he wasn't dead yet, still trying to crawl out of there no matter what. The giant foot of the statue was right above his head, and after it was lowered to the ground, a long streak of blood appeared. But luckily, just then, Jin-Woo managed to drag himself to the statue, and it began to sing. He escaped death, and the large statue returned to its place.